Hypnotic Induction, Concepts and Procedures. Prepared and spoken by Milton V. Kline, EDD, Director of the Institute for Research in Hypnosis, New York City.
The induction of hypnosis must clinically be viewed within the context of the therapeutic applications that are being considered. It must be pointed out that hypnotic procedures and the hypnotic process are now being utilized along with special hypnotic techniques in all forms of psychotherapy, ranging from psychoanalytic treatment to behavior therapy and chemotherapy. Clinical problems which are now treated on a hypnotic level include neurotic and psychotic disturbances, psychosomatic illnesses, a variety of psychological problems such as reading disabilities, speech impairment, and learning blocks, as well as organic illnesses and particularly the chronic pain resulting from these disorders. The hypnotic process can be integrated into the treatment situation only after careful patient evaluation, and such integration must be in keeping with both the therapeutic competence that is involved and the particular needs of the patient. Hypnosis does not by itself constitute a therapy, but rather a potent and varied process which can be accommodated meaningfully and productively into a variety of therapeutic procedures. It does, however, pose certain problems, even dangers and contraindications, all of which presume specialized training, experience, and supervision before the therapist can be considered competent to utilize hypnosis as a thorough part of his therapeutic armamentarium. Learning to induce hypnosis is a relatively simple and direct procedure. However, training in hypnosis itself becomes a very necessary adjunct in terms of being able to adequately employ those psychodynamic and therapeutic strategies and tactics which go into the effective utilization and incorporation of hypnosis. It is within this context that the induction of hypnosis must be viewed not as an isolated clinical phenomenon, but as an integral part of the practice of hypnotherapy, and the dynamic consideration of various phases of induction must be part of one's overall competence in its utilization. The induction of hypnosis is a most significant part of the therapeutic interaction, and in most instances involves observable projective behavior which may be used for diagnostic purposes as well as in treatment. The development of the hand levitation technique and many modifications of it, along with the use of ocular fixation procedures, the utilization of visual imagery, constitute at the present time the major methods for the clinical induction of hypnosis. There are, however, a number of variations which essentially are psychologic strategies and tactics, and they will be emphasized and outlined in terms of specific induction procedures which are pertinent, relevant, and meaningful for specific problems and for specific types of patients. In keeping with this concept, it is apparent that careful appraisal of the patient's resistances and, very often, physiologic as well as symbolic expression of defense maneuvering may determine the manner not only in which induction will be chosen, but the way in which one may modify it as one proceeds, so that although the emphasis may be upon direct or indirect, sensory or imagery, peripheral or regressive techniques of induction, one has to be flexible in order to shift with the needs of the patient as they emerge during the induction process. It is most important to keep in mind that the induction of hypnosis is not a passive mechanism or passive response process on the part of the patient, but rather it is an active, dynamic experience, and as such, the therapist, hypnotist, must be aware that the induction process is a dynamic one and must adjust procedures in keeping with the manifestations and behavior of the patient as those reactions emerge clinically. Induction is also an important means of determining the eventual productiveness with which hypnotherapy may be undertaken. And while there are various measures of depth which one will evaluate as you go along in the use of hypnosis, responses to induction in themselves, while not necessarily reflective of the utmost depth or the absolute measure of depth, will be very important indications of responsiveness and of what one might best determine to be psychologic productivity. This productivity is an important means of gauging and determining the extent to which hypnosis may be used as a therapeutic modality. Therefore, the induction becomes a vitally important means not only of achieving the hypnotic state and of fostering the hypnotic relationship, but of initially evaluating the patient's prognosis in terms of the incorporation of hypnotic tactics and hypnotic techniques in his overall treatment plan. The induction of hypnosis must be viewed on a continuum, which begins with the initial response of the patient on a coping or adaptational basis, and within which one will notice changes in sensory, motor, and perceptual functioning. These will be pointed out in relation to specific induction procedures, since some procedures will emphasize more of one phase of response mechanism than another. It is also important that the clinician be aware of the distinction between the hypnotic state as a response to induction process and the altered state of consciousness and the emergence of the hypnotic relationship as a modification in the patient's level of ego functioning. This may not be apparent immediately, or in some instances it may emerge very spontaneously, along with relatively complex behaviorisms. The choice of hypnotic technique very often should be gauged carefully in advance and determined by at least an initial diagnostic impression and a thorough evaluation of the patient's symptoms, since induction in one patient will bring about rather different responses than the very same induction procedure in another patient. The induction of hypnosis involves a patient in a direct encounter with another person, which has metaphors and implications inherent with conscious and unconscious meaning. The externalized characteristics associated with hypnosis are not necessarily symptoms of hypnosis, but are indications of the degree to which regressive ego functioning brings about increased reliance upon critical ways of thinking and pre-logical ways of thinking. Contemporary research in hypnotherapy emphasizes two major categories which are very important in relation to induction process. One, studies of the nature of hypnosis as a psychological phenomenon and its relationship to related states, and two, the operational characteristics of hypnosis as a therapeutic modality in relation to specific aspects of behavioral adaptation, personality reorganization, and the general nature of mental functioning, including both cognitive and affective elements. Therefore, in viewing the induction phase of hypnosis, it is important to bear in mind the following elements. Again, the significant distinction between the process of hypnotic induction and the gradual elaboration of the hypnotic relationship. The increasing use of patient-centered induction procedures, and particularly the use of the patient's defensive mechanisms in order to bring about induction as well as to amplify it. And the recognition of the fact that patients may be hypnotized without conscious awareness of the process and with their implied rather than stated consent, as well as the fact that the employment of a vast number of highly specialized and at times complex hypnotic techniques may be used in addition to suggestion and guided direction. Induction also is not limited simply to the elucidation of a hypnotic state or trance. Induction is not necessarily limited to the first encountering process in this respect. Induction may continue during various phases of hypnotherapy, and at times specialized induction procedures will be utilized in already developed hypnotic states in order to elucidate complex mechanisms either of ideational function or affective response. We are at this time, however, focusing upon the initial phase of induction, and as such we might refer to it as the primary induction process, and of necessity it should be kept as simplistic as possible in keeping with the patient's initial presentation and the objectives which clinically have already been determined. More complex aspects of induction, and particularly its use either for deepening or the elucidation of particular aspects of dynamic or behavioral modification or coping, should not be considered as usually appropriate or indicated for the primary induction process. The primary induction process should be one that is essentially oriented to giving the patient a sense of becoming involved in a new experience, one in which there will be usually a degree of relaxation, a sense of ease and comfortableness in the new relationship, and an ability to re-experience on a level of sensory and motor awareness a feeling of becoming involved in a relationship without undue anxiety and with a degree of spontaneity. It is thus within this context, both psychodynamically and diagnostically, that we view the various primary techniques for the induction of hypnosis and for the fostering and development of the hypnotic relationship. Although there are a number of primary induction techniques, one may view all primary induction techniques as being related essentially to fixation of attention, visual function, or some aspect of sensory and motor phenomena. The induction procedures, which will be illustrated on this tape, are indications of ways of approaching the initial induction of hypnosis with patients in a variety of situations. Those situations will be briefly alluded to. It should, however, be kept in mind that any of the techniques which are illustrated here may, of necessity and in actuality, require considerably more time, particularly during the initial induction, and very frequently modifications or alterations in approach based upon patient need and some of the spontaneous reactions to induction procedures. However, the techniques and the strategies which are outlined here may be considered as the essential format for initial inductions to hypnosis in a clinical setting. Perhaps the easiest and most acceptable of all primary inductions, with relative ease for both the patient and therapist, is that involving ocular or visual fixation. In this approach, the patient, usually seated in a chair and following a face-to-face interview-type discussion, is simply asked to focus their eyes on any relatively bright and fixed object directly in front of them, but usually somewhat at an angle from the therapist. The same approach may be utilized with a patient reclining on a couch, but for the greater part, initial inductions undertaken in a face-to-face situation are more in keeping with the demands of usual clinical interaction and pose no special significances for the patient. The approach is simply that the patient is asked to focus their eyes on the relatively bright object, and then asked to make sure that they just very simply keep that object well in view. And the approach now that I'm outlining is one that actually would be done with the patient. I'm asking you to just be very comfortable and to sit in the chair as you are. And if you like, you can feel perfectly free to move about posturally in any way that you wish. You can feel perfectly free to shift any part of the body at any time during the induction of hypnosis. However, the one thing I would like you to do is to keep your eyes focused very steadily on the object that you're looking at. And that means, essentially, to keep the eyeballs focused very still and very steady. You can let the eyelids close whenever you wish to, or whenever they feel that they would like to close, or at any time that I might indicate that it would be helpful in terms of what we're doing for you to voluntarily close them. So just focus the eyes very steadily now. And as you do, you feel a very pleasant sensation of heaviness coming over the eyelids. You feel the eyelids growing heavier and heavier and heavier, heavier and heavier, very easily and very naturally. Very pleasant feeling just coming over the eyelids now as they continue to grow heavier and heavier and heavier, heavier and heavier, very heavy now, very heavy, very pleasantly and naturally heavy. You can feel them just very gently beginning to close in just a few moments now as they continue to grow heavier and heavier and heavier, heavier and heavier, heavier and heavier and heavier, heavier and heavier and heavier, heavier and heavier and heavier. And now that they're closed, you'll feel a very pleasant sensation of relaxation coming over the eyelids and spreading throughout the entire body, so that you'll feel the whole body, from the top of the head all the way down to the tips of the toes, just growing very relaxed and very comfortable. And you can feel the whole body growing deeper and deeper relaxed, and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper relaxed. Very pleasant feeling of ease and relaxation spreading over the body now, from the top of the head, through the shoulders and the arms, down through the legs, to the tips of the toes. And the eyelids very gently but firmly closed as you continue to feel the body growing deeper and deeper relaxed, and deeper 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 relaxed. And I'm going to count slowly now, from 10 down to 0, and as I count backwards, you feel the whole body moving into a still deeper, more relaxed, hypnotic sleep. And by the time I've reached 0, you'll be much more deeply relaxed and in a very deep, comfortable, hypnotic sleep. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Deeper and deeper and deeper relaxed. Deeper and 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 deeper relaxed. And you'll continue to move into a progressively more relaxed and deeper hypnotic sleep as we continue to work very deeply, very comfortably. Variations or modifications of this induction procedure may take place when a patient displays some resistance to lid catalepsy, so that the eyelids do not close within a reasonable period of time, at which time the therapist can indicate that the eyelids are starting to close down, encourage them to close down, and if there is still some resistance, simply ask the patient to voluntarily close the lids down and proceed with the same induction procedure as just recently described. In some instances, and this would depend upon very careful clinical judgment and the nature of the therapist-patient interaction, one might approach the patient and very gently, touching the eyelids, close them down. One of the most popular of primary induction techniques is the use of arm and hand levitation. This is in many respects an extension of what has been described in relation to ocular or visual fixation techniques. The patient, again, seated in a comfortable position, is encouraged to assume postural comfort and relaxation easily, spontaneously, and naturally. And now, as if the induction were actually beginning, one would say to the patient, what I'd like you to do is simply extend your right arm and hand in front of you, and just let it remain stretched in front, very naturally and very easily, as you continue yourself to feel relaxed and comfortable. And you don't really have to pay any attention to that hand or arm, but just focus your eyes directly ahead. And as you do, you're going to feel the arm and the hand beginning to grow lighter and lighter and lighter, lighter and lighter and lighter, lighter and lighter and lighter, very light now, lighter and lighter and lighter, lighter and lighter. And as the hand grows lighter, and the arm as well, you'll be aware of the hand and the arm just beginning to rise very gently and very naturally up into the air, almost as if that hand and arm were attached to a balloon which was rising very gently and easily into the air, and the hand and arm rising with it, higher and higher and higher, very easily, higher and higher and higher, higher and higher and higher. And as the hand and arm grow lighter and lighter and lighter, you'll feel the hand moving easily and freely toward your face, so very naturally and so very easily, just moving gently, freely, spontaneously toward your face. There it goes, so easy. There it goes. The hand is moving closer and closer and closer to your face, and as it does, you're growing more and more relaxed, and deeper, and deeper, and deeper, and deeper, and deeper, into a very deep hypnotic sleep. And when the hand gently touches your face, you'll very easily and rapidly go into a very deep hypnotic sleep, as the hand continues to move easily and directly toward your face, as it grows lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter, lighter and lighter. There it goes, touching the face now, very gently. And you're growing deeper and deeper relaxed, and moving into a very deep hypnotic sleep now. And as you do, the hand and arm can return to a very pleasant, relaxed, resting position, all the way down gently and easily as you continue to grow deeper and deeper and deeper relaxed, and deeper and deeper and deeper, very deeply. And I'm going to count slowly from 1 to 10. And by the time I've reached 10, you'll be in a very deep, relaxed hypnotic sleep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. There are several modifications of the arm and hand levitation technique. The one which was just described has some relative advantages in that the arm and hand being extended permits a certain amount of more spontaneous sensory and motor interaction without the need for initiation on the part of the patient. It should also be kept in mind that the selection of an arm and hand levitation technique should be one that is going to be acceptable to the patient in terms of bodily manipulation, and usually should involve a dominant arm and hand. One particularly facile modification of this technique, which I will now describe, is slightly different. The patient is asked again to sit comfortably, relaxed, in the chair. And now, while you're sitting in the chair, what I'd like you to do is just focus your eyes on your right hand as your hand and arm are very comfortably resting in your lap. Just focus on the right hand and arm. And as you do, you're going to notice a very pleasant sensation in the right hand, which begins at the tips of the fingers and spreads back through the arm all the way up to the shoulder. A very pleasant feeling of lightness. Just a very pleasant sense of lightness, so that you can feel the hand growing lighter and lighter and lighter, lighter and lighter and lighter. And as it does, the arm also begins to grow lighter and lighter and lighter. Very light now. Just growing lighter and lighter and lighter. Lighter and lighter. Lighter and lighter. And as the hand and arm grow lighter, you'll feel the hand and arm rising gently into the air. Just rising higher and higher and higher. Higher and higher and higher. Higher and higher. There they go. Very gently. Just moving up into the air, gently and easily. Both the hand and the entire arm grow so very light now. Lighter and lighter and lighter. Lighter and lighter and lighter. Lighter and lighter and lighter. The hand and arm rising gently up into the air. Higher and higher and higher. Higher and higher. With the hand moving gently and easily toward your face. Very easily and very naturally. And as it moves, you feel yourself growing much more relaxed. Very much more relaxed. And moving into a very deep, pleasant, hypnotic sleep. As the hand continues its gradual, spontaneous movement toward your face. And when it touches your face, the very point of contact, you're going to be able to go into a very deep, hypnotic sleep, much deeper than now. The hand is moving gently and easily, closer and closer and closer, closer and closer and closer, closer and closer and closer, closer and closer to your face. There it goes. Touching gently. That's fine. Just touching gently. And as it touches easily and gently, you're moving into a very deep, hypnotic sleep. And I'm going to count slowly from A to G. And when I've reached G, you'll be in a very deep hypnotic sleep, much deeper than now. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Very deep now. So very deep. Your hand and arm can return slowly, gently, easily to a resting position and relax as you continue to go even more deeply. Deeper and deeper and deeper.
This ends side 1.
One modification of this technique, either beginning with the hand in the lap or extended out in front, can be to very gently, after suggestions of lightness and levitation in the hand and arm have been given for at least 3 or 4 minutes with relatively little movement, to simply take your own hand and, touching the wrist, begin to elevate the arm and the hand gently in the direction of the patient's face, but very slowly and very easily. Just initiating the movement will usually bring about a spontaneous continuation of that movement, and at which time you will find the deepening effects noticeable, and you can continue with the induction technique as already described. A modification of the arm levitation technique, which frequently is easier to use with patients who display a certain amount of resistance, is to ask them to sit comfortably in the chair, sitting all the way back now, very comfortably, and just focus your eyes on the wall in front of you, and extend your right hand and arm straight out. Just extend it in front of you, that's fine. And as the arm and hand are extended, you'll feel the whole body growing very comfortable, very much at ease. And as you think about that arm and hand, you'll find them growing heavier and heavier and heavier. Very heavy now. Growing heavier and heavier and heavier. Heavier and heavier and heavier. Heavier and heavier. And as the arm and the hand grow very pleasantly heavy, you'll feel the hand and arm moving gently down toward your lap. And as the hand and arm move toward your lap, your eyelids are going to grow very heavy, very heavy. And they'll begin to close, and when your hand has touched your lap, the eyelids will close all the way down, very naturally and very easily. Just closing all the way down as that hand and arm grow heavier and heavier and heavier, heavier and heavier and heavier. That's fine. Heavier and heavier and heavier. And now that the hand and arm are resting gently in your lap, the eyelids are very comfortably closed, you'll feel yourself growing deeper and deeper and deeper relaxed, and deeper and deeper and deeper, very deeply now, deeper and deeper and deeper. And as I count slowly, from 10 to 0, you find yourself moving into a much deeper hypnotic sleep, and by the time I've reached 0, you'll be very deep and very comfortable. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Very deep now. Very deep. In the techniques already described, Eyelid closure is accompanied by arm and hand levitation or any variation of arm and hand movement. When the eyelids do not spontaneously experience catalepsy or simple closure, direct instructions for closure should be administered, and if there is any difficulty in that, one may, in special instances as indicated previously, simply close them by gently touching on them with your hands. However, for the greater part, most patients will close the eyes upon direction. Another technique, which may be used with patients for whom you already suspect a considerable amount of resistance, particularly to eyelid catalepsy or any other aspect of direct control over sensory or motor phenomena, is to ask the patient to sit comfortably in a chair and to voluntarily close their eyes, and then to use essentially a sleep model approach. And the approach is as follows. Now that you're sitting in the chair very comfortably, just let the whole body gently move back so that you can feel the body pressing against the chair in the back and underneath you, as if the whole body were just beginning to actually settle into the chair, just settling into it very comfortably and easily. And now that your eyes are comfortably closed, you'll be aware of a very pleasant sense of ease and relaxation coming over the body, and of yourself beginning to grow comfortably drowsy, just growing drowsier and 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 drowsier. And as you grow drowsy, the whole body is going to grow more and more relaxed, from head to toe, all the muscles of the body relaxing, growing completely at ease. And you can experience the very pleasurable sensation of every part of the body growing deeply and completely relaxed at the very same time. So very deeply and completely at the very same time now. And it's growing deeper and deeper and deeper relaxed, and deeper 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 relaxed. So very deep. And I'm going to count slowly from 10 to 0, and as I do, you're going to feel yourself growing very drowsy, even drowsier than now. And by the time I've reached 0, you'll be in a very deep, relaxed, hypnotic sleep, but very deep. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and deeper, and deeper, and deeper, and deeper, and deeper, and deeper relaxed, and deeper, and deeper, and deeper, very deeply, and now into a very deep hypnotic sleep, very deep, and deeper, and deeper. The use of scene visualization and any aspect of visual imagery is a very effective means for initiating the induction of hypnosis. There are so many variations on this approach which will be apparent to any clinician that the illustration of one approach is sufficient to clearly outline the format and structure within which simple scene visualization, which in part is patient-selected, can be used to initiate an initial induction of hypnosis to provide sufficient basis for deepening and then to move on, if necessary, to more complex techniques or to the utilization of techniques already described as a means of amplifying or intensifying the induction procedure. The following is a relatively simple, direct approach involving scene visualization. The patient is asked, usually, to select, with their eyes closed, a scene where they know they have experienced a complete sense of ease and relaxation. The emphasis should be upon the patient selecting a scene of their own where they have experientially been involved in pleasant, sensual, and muscular feelings of relaxation and comfortableness. The procedure then follows in this manner. Now that your eyes are gently closed and you're sitting comfortably in the chair, you really don't have to pay very much attention to me. You don't really have to listen carefully to what I say. You'll be able to hear everything. Even if my voice seems to fade and get low at times, don't strain to try to hear it. The most important thing is for you to concentrate on the scene that you described for me a moment ago, and which you're now absorbed in and concentrating upon with your eyes closed. The scene of yourself lying on the beach in the warm sun. Such a very pleasant memory, as well as a very pleasant scene. And just focusing on that scene so that you can actually feel the sun baking the body gently, warming it comfortably. Just a very good feeling of every part of the body becoming pleasantly relaxed, soaking up the sun, feeling yourself lying on the beach, that comfortable feeling of being completely at ease, the comfortable sense of privacy, of the fresh air, the cool breeze, and the warming sun. And the combination of that will be something that you find so gratifying and so pleasurable that you'll want to experience more and more of it, much more of it now. And as you do, you'll feel yourself growing more and more relaxed with that warm sun, feeling the cool breeze and the comfortable beach where the whole body is so much at ease. You'll feel yourself growing deeper and deeper and deeper relaxed now. And deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And when I reach G, counting from A, you'll be so absorbed in the scene that you'll be in a very deep, relaxed, hypnotic sleep. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Very deep now. Deeper and deeper and deeper. Deeper and deeper. Very deep. The choice of scenes which have an experiential background are as varied as a patient's experience, and as such lend themselves very well to variations in patients' age, cultural background, and orientation. The scenes can be varied in keeping with patient needs. They can be varied in keeping with patient symptoms. So that for pain problems, those scenes which have been particularly pleasurable, have involved considerable diversion in terms of a patient's attention, may be specifically indicated. The choice of scene should be determined by rather careful discussion with the patient, considerable orientation on what is going to be done, and emphasizing the fact that the visual images that they develop may be spontaneous and that they can feel free to have them evolve in any way that they wish. Your role as the hypnotist clinician is simply to keep them absorbed in the scene, to embellish the scene with your own description of the various sensory modalities that are involved, and to then use the various deepening techniques. The advantage of scene visualization is that it also permits you to incorporate other aspects of ocular fixation, arm levitation, catalepsy, and almost any aspect of sensory and motor phenomena that you may wish once absorption in the scene has begun. An important extension and modification of scene visualization involves one which is not actually experiential in terms of a memory which is being retrieved and utilized for induction, but actually the utilization of scene visualization as part of the patient's presenting situation clinically. The following is the procedure that I have found most effective with patients who are, again, somewhat anxious, prone to some resistance, and particularly with children who like to be absorbed in what is going on at the present time, but also, in a way, detached. What I'd like you to do is to settle back in the chair and be very comfortable, very much at ease, completely relaxed. And I'd like you to just let your eyelids close down, very simply. That's fine. Now, with your eyelids closed, what I'm going to ask you to do is a rather simple but very interesting exercise. I'm going to ask you to picture yourself as you were in the chair a few moments ago when I was talking with you with your eyes open. In other words, what I want you to do is, as you continue to comfortably relax in the chair, with your eyes actually gently closed, I'd like you to just picture yourself in your mind's eye with your eyes open. And as you do that, I'd like you to notice that in the scene that you're now concentrating upon and that you're becoming more and more absorbed in, you'll notice that the image of yourself is beginning to change a little bit. You'll notice that the eyelids are beginning to grow heavier and heavier and fluttering slightly. And as they grow heavier and heavier and heavier, you'll notice that the eyelids are closing down very gently, heavier and heavier and heavier, heavier and heavier and heavier, as they close very easily now. And down they go, all the way down, all the way down now. That's fine. And as they close all the way down, you'll notice that the image of yourself that you're focusing upon in your mind's eye is growing very relaxed and actually appears to be falling asleep into a very gentle, relaxed, but very deep sleep. And as you look on that image, you'll notice that that image of yourself is growing deeper and deeper relaxed, and deeper and deeper and deeper, and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper relaxed, and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper relaxed. Every part of the body, shoulders, the arms, the legs, so very deeply relaxed. You notice that that image of yourself really seems to be very deeply asleep, in a very special kind of sleep, a hypnotic sleep, which is very comfortable, very pleasurable, and very much at ease. And you're going to find that you yourself now are going to begin to feel exactly as you've observed the image of yourself. You're going to begin to feel extremely relaxed, even more so than you have been until now, as every muscle in the body grows deeper and deeper relaxed, and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, 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 and deeper. Relax. And deeper, and deeper, and deeper. And I'm going to count slowly from 10 to 0. And as I count slowly backwards, you feel yourself moving into a very deep hypnotic sleep. And by the time I've reached 0, you'll be much deeper than now, completely at ease and relaxed. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Very deep now. And deeper, and deeper, and deeper, and deeper, and deeper, and deeper. Very deep. Additional variations in the utilization of scene visualization or visual imagery may take advantage of any aspect of a patient's preference, orientation, or experiential background as indicated previously. For example, with children, it is particularly useful to have them visualize a television screen with their eyes closed, and to visualize on that screen their favorite program, and then, by very careful focusing on that program, to indicate to them that they'll be able to see it vividly and to enjoy it the way they usually do, to actually be able to hear it if they wish in their own heads. And as one focuses upon that imagery related to television programming, you will have the same effects as described in the scene visualizations that I have previously portrayed. You will get a rapid relaxation and a gradual but steady movement into a hypnotic state. The choice, obviously, of visual images is so vast that to elaborate one or another is simply a variation on a thematic structure. The procedure is essentially the same. Selection of appropriate scenes, emphasis on the content of that scene, with then steady, direct suggestions for bodily involvement in relaxation, comfortableness, and movement toward hypnotic depth or hypnotic sleep. The suggestions go along with the concentration on the images, and one will find that if patience is involved, if timing coincides with respiratory functions on the part of the patient, and suggestions of relaxation are given steadily and easily and in accordance with patient response, that movement toward hypnotic involvement will take place with reasonable rapidity and with considerable ease and comfortableness, at which point the next stage, either of intensification of the hypnotic experience or preparation for therapeutic work, can be undertaken. The combination of visual imagery or scene visualization and some sensation of motor movement is also particularly effective, so that the following additional modification frequently is employed with considerable success in clinical settings. What I'd like you to do is to sit comfortably in the chair. Just settle back naturally and easily. And you find yourself just feeling more and more at ease and more relaxed as I continue to describe a few things that you're going to be able to experience very naturally and very easily and with considerable pleasure. With your eyelids gently closed now, and just close them very easily, that's fine. And if they quiver a little bit, that quivering will just fade away in a moment or two, because as you keep the eyelids closed gently, they have a tendency to grow heavier and heavier and heavier. And now what I'd like you to do is to visualize yourself at the top of a very elegant, luxurious flight of stairs with beautiful, thick carpeting. And you're just looking at that flight of stairs and noticing how beautiful those stairs are. And it's going to be quite a pleasure to walk down that flight of stairs. And I'm going to count slowly from 10 down to 0, because you've probably noticed there are just 10 steps in this flight of stairs. And you're going to find yourself sinking into this thick, soft, luxuriant carpeting. And by the time I've reached 0, you'll be at the bottom of the flight of stairs in a very deep, relaxed, hypnotic sleep, but very deep. Here we go now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Very deep now, and very relaxed. And deeper, and deeper, and deeper, and deeper, and deeper. Very deep. With patients presenting problems of physical pain, particularly where that pain may be acute at the time that you're seeing them, or where the memory of the pain may present a very real problem in terms of their ability to concentrate on a visual image, to even follow simple suggestions with regard to motor or sensory reactions. There is an approach which I have found to be particularly effective and which is used very often in the treatment of patients with migraine, as well as patients with other pain problems which may not be vascular in nature. The patient is simply asked to sit or to recline in a comfortable position. And then the approach is as follows. What I'd like you to do is to think about your hands, both hands, just as they are now, in the position in which they're comfortably resting. And as you think about your hands, you're going to be aware of the hands beginning to grow pleasantly warm, a very pleasant sensation of warmth, starting at the very tips of the fingers and spreading back through the wrist, all the way up to the elbow if you wish, but particularly the hands growing very pleasantly warm now, just growing warmer and warmer and warmer. Both hands growing very warm, warmer and warmer and warmer, warmer and warmer and warmer, warmer and warmer and warmer. And as the hands grow warmer, you grow deeper and deeper relaxed, and deeper and deeper relaxed, very deeply, and the hands will continue to grow warmer as you grow more relaxed, very naturally and very easily, and deeper and deeper and deeper relaxed, and deeper and deeper, and deeper and deeper. Other organs of the body may be used for such sensory focus and the utilization of various alterations in sensation involving tactile and kinesthetic characteristics will play a very significant role in facilitating rapid movement into the hypnotic state. It is very clear from what has been presented that modifications and variations in induction can be presented in a way that is acceptable and useful to each patient. The most important thing that I would like to emphasize in summing up this presentation of the induction to the state of hypnosis and the hypnotic relationship is that the choice of approach, the definition of technique, the utilization of procedure should always be determined by the presenting problem by the needs of the patient and the ease and facility with which the patient responds. If there are elements which seem to produce resistance or difficulty for the patient, then it simply is a matter of switching approach, modifying technique, and moving along with patient response mechanism. The induction of hypnosis, as indicated in the very beginning of this tape, is a process of adaptation, of coping, and of interaction. It is a positive, active process, not a passive one. Above all, experience in inducing hypnosis in a variety of patients with competent supervision and training lends itself to the most effective clinical utilization of hypnosis. The procedures, which have been outlined here, can be used with relative ease. They can be incorporated into a total approach with a given patient by combining aspects of them. One can extend the amount of time considerably. One can shorten periods of time. The more complex techniques of induction are based upon the beginnings described here, and obviously are most useful when further training and experience has been obtained by the therapist.
This ends the presentation. Thank you.